Hey guys, welcome to 64 Tech Bits, and we'll be continuing our Java series. And in this video, we'll be continuing control flow statements, and we'll be specifically looking into looping statements and jump statements. So let's get started with looping statements. So as you can see here, and also the name suggests, looping statements are the one which runs in a loop until a specific condition is met, and they are also called just loops. And in Java, there are three types of loops. One is for loop, which runs for a specific number of times. So let's say n times. And there is while loop. A while loop runs until this given condition or the specific condition is met. And the do while loop is as same as while loop, but do while loop at least runs for once, whereas while loop can run for 0 times. So let's see each of this with an example. For example, let's say int n is equal to 10. And to write a for loop, you have to write for open brackets and int I equals 0. That means the initial value of I is 0, and you have to run until value of I is less than n, and I plus plus. Now I plus plus is a form of incremental statement, which means I is equal to I plus 1. So if your initial value of I is 0, now 0 will be 0 plus 1. Since in Java or any programming language, the right hand side is assigned to left hand side, so the next value of I would be 1. So in order to write I is equal to I plus 1, you can simply write I plus plus. We'll see more about incremental and decremental statements in the coming videos. But for now, remember this is I is equal to I plus 1, right? So I would say system.out.println I, or let's say I plus 1. Let's run this. As you can see here, the program has run for 10 times. And you can manipulate the value of I and the condition here to make sure your loop runs for some specific number of times. So this is a classic example of a for loop. We'll look about more usage of for loops and loops in general in the coming videos, where we'll type example of star patterns, or we'll solve specific problems which are generally require loops. But for now, this is all about a for loop. Now a while loop, that's, as I said, while, and this has to be a condition, and here is your statement which runs until your condition is met. Let's say while n by 2 is greater than 0, you run this part, right? And since n is equal to 10, so 10 by 2 will be 5, right? I'll say system.out.println n, right? And I'll say n is equal to n by 2, which means the next value of n would be 5. And here it will check for n by 2, that is 2.5 or 2 is greater than 0. Let's run this thing. And as you can see here, 5 and 2 after your 10. So let me comment this for now and run this again. So here you can see 10, 5 and 2, right? But what happens if you don't give the statement, or don't give, let's say if I comment the statement, what happens? Now this will run indefinitely. So it will run and print 10 until you stop the program. So this kind of loop is called an infinite loop, where there is no specific, what do you say, checkpoint or transition where you're not updating the value. So you need to make sure that the given condition stops at some certain point of time and it serves your purpose, right? Now, as I said, while and do while loop are similar, but there is a catch that do while loop or while loop runs at least one time. So I'll say do, and I'll say system.out.println. I'll say print n, and I'll write while n by 2 is less than or is greater than 0, and to terminate the statement. I'll comment this for now, and again you have to update the value of n to make sure your loop is not an infinite loop. And let's run this. So here you can see the same value as your first while loop. But the key difference between a while and a do while loop is here the condition is checked before and here the condition is checked afterwards. I mean, when I say afterwards, that means performing the do block. So the do block is performed or executed before, and then the condition is checked if the specific condition is met or not. So for that, let's take another example and let's see if n is greater than 10. Let's print 10 and do the same here. And you can see here there will be no output since n is equal to 10 and it's not greater than 10. So this block of code will not execute. But here, as I said, the do is executed before and then the condition is checked. So here we go, we get the output as 10. And here, since the value of the condition is false, this block is never executed again. So this is the key difference between while and do while loop. We'll see more about loops in the coming videos, but let's move forward with jump statements. So the jump statements are the one which alter or changes the normal flow of code. And there are three types of jump statements in Java. First is a break statement, which we have seen in an earlier example while writing switch case, which terminates the nearest block. Okay, so whenever the break is encountered in a switch case, the switch case block is terminated. Continue skips the iteration and moves to the next. We'll see an example of continue in this video. And return, it exists from the current method. Now method is something we'll look in the coming videos, and optionally returns a value. So the return statement will be covered in the coming videos, but for now let's see what break and continue do. Now let's look into example for both break and continue statements. So let me change the existing condition. So I'll say if n by 2 is greater than 10, run this. Same, I mean greater than 0, and n by 2 is greater than 0, right? And I'll say if if n double equal to 5, I'll print out n is 5, and here we write a break statement, and we do the same here. I'll say if n double equal to 5, I'll make sure n is equal to n by 2, and I'll write continue, right? And let's run this to see what's the key difference. Here you can see the first block runs and it prints n, which is 10. Then it prints n is 5. It's 5. And since it encounters a break, it comes out, right? Why does not the second code execute? Because we did not update the value n is equal to 10 again, right? So let's run this to see the key differences. Here you can see, so as said, n is 10, so 10 is printed. Then n becomes 5, n is 5 is printed, and the code execution stops. But here, where n is equal to 10, 10 is printed. But when n is equal to 5, that specific iteration is skipped and the next output has been printed. So this is the key difference between break and continue statements. Also, while writing continuous statements, you need to make sure you do not fall into infinite loop, where let's say if I don't write the condition here and run this again. Here you can see it's running continuously because we haven't written a condition. So 10 we do not encounter 2. So you need to make sure while writing continue, you make sure that it does not form a infinite loop. So here let's run again, and you can see 10 n is 5, 10, 2. So this is all about looping statements and jump statements. We'll look into return and the other statements which we haven't discussed here in the coming videos. So that's all about it for today. I hope this was helpful. Do like and share this video and subscribe for more such videos. Thank you and take care. Bye bye.